The Scottish Government is abandoning its legal challenge against Westminster's veto of gender reforms. The Social Justice Secretary has confirmed ministers will not appeal a ruling by the Court of Session that the UK Government's block is legal.
The legislation to make it easier for people to change their legally recognised sex received cross-party support when it was passed last year. Our political correspondent Ewan Petrie reports.
1 year after MSPs backed gender reforms, the Scottish Government confirmed it will not appeal the court ruling that Westminster's veto is legal.
It is the government's opinion, that the worst possible outcome would be to draw this out still further and still not be able to have a bill to enact. We want to avoid that outcome, and that's the reason why the government has came to the decision that it has.
The UK Government used a Section 35 order to block legislation intended to make it easier for people to change their legally recognised sex.
Regardless of people's views and opinions on gender recognition, that is a very worrying place for our Parliament to be. We warned all along that this would happen, but the SNP government didn't listen. Instead, they've spent time and taxpayers' money on a doomed legal battle to revive laws which the majority of the Scottish public do not want.
The issue divided members of the Scottish Government. Ash Regan quit as a minister.
I renew my calls for the government to apologise, as their conduct has fatally undermined public trust in government, and they have no one to blame for that but themselves.
Although the Scottish Government introduced this bill, it was passed by Parliament. This is now Parliament's bill.
Campaigners against the law argued it would risk the safety of women and girls in same-sex spaces.
I think it sets a marker for the Scottish Government going forward that they have to make good law and they have to listen to a wide range of opinions and they have to scrutinise legislation properly and they can't just act at the behest of unelected lobby groups.
Ministers say they're open to working with the current or future UK Government to find a way of reforming the law.
Given that this was first proposed around 2016 and all parties other than the Tories proposed this in manifestos for Holyrood, I think they are committed and they're not going to back down in the face of this kind of culture war.
The UK Government now intends to seek reimbursement for its legal costs. Ewan Petrie, STV News.
Well, our political editor Colin Mackay was watching. Colin, what did you make of it?
Well, last Christmas, MSPs were sitting late into the night to get this through Parliament. It's still not law, and it now looks like it never really will be. I mean, the UK Government is simply not going to let this go ahead. The Scottish Government won't withdraw it. They don't even really know if they can. So right now, it's just sitting in limbo, and they'll see what happens at the general election next year. But this has been one of the most divisive pieces of legislation ever in the Scottish Parliament. In fact, looking back over the last few years, if you take out the Brexit referendum and the independence referendum, I'm not sure that I can think of a more divisive issue in Scottish politics. So it could come back, but realistically, not anytime soon.
Many thanks, Colin.